morning guys, welcome to our Sejarah Form 4 online session dengan kawalan pergerakan MCO, CMCO. Sesi ini sepatutnya membantu kamu dalam pendidikan sejarah. It's supposed to help you in your history online experience. Okay, before that, I always like to ask, other than your online stuff you're learning, on your own, you have a passion that you seek out during this time since you have more time at home? Well, check what I did. And my passion, one of my passion is I like to bake. So check what I managed to do. Alright, so that was my mooncake experience. No, cikgu belum cuba lagi kuih Deepavali lagi. Saya tak mahir, tak berani lagi. Mungkin selepas Deepavali saya akan cuba. Saya akan tengok. Ada beberapa kuih tradisional India yang saya rasa nak cuba. Tapi saya kena baca dulu, kaji dulu. Semasa saya buat mooncake, saya pun belajar apa dia punya sejarah di belakang. See, you can do so many things. Although you're stuck at home, there are many things to explore. Importantly, be of a useful help to your parents. You know, you can help them in the kitchen, you can help their dad, many ways. Alright, so let's get back to our class. Alright, first thing is, saya nak kamu ingatkan di sini bahawa bila kamu masuk ke tahun 2021, apa yang ditinggalkan di tingkatan 4 tidak akan dibawa ke tingkatan 5. Maksudnya, when December ends, you are supposed to know the whole syllabus of Form 4. You might find that, we are going to school, we're going online, we're going offline, online, now we're back online. Kamu rasa macam tak apalah, tahun depan saya sambung balik Form 4. Tak ada. Big no. Make sure you use your time and resources to make sure you are really good in Form 4, the topics of Form 4. Because bila kita masuk ke tahun tingkatan 5, kita akan menghadapi topik-topik baru. Jadi saya nak bagi beberapa tips untuk hari ini. Dan secara tidak langsung mengulang kaji beberapa satu bab yang penting, itu bab 7 dulu. Okey, dalam bab 7, mungkin ramai di antara kamu sudah mula membeli buku kerja. Saya nak beritahu, buku kerja ni banyak membantu, tapi yang paling penting dalam koleksi buku kerja kamu, rujukan utama selalu kita kena balik ke buku teks. Buku teks sangat penting. Buku rujukan sebenarnya kebanyakan harus melatih anda untuk membuat latihan. Cikgu tak galakkan kamu beli buku kerja yang ada nota, dan katakan kamu ada 10 buku kerja yang semuanya nota tebal-tebal dan ada latihan sedikit saja. Saya rela kamu beli, kalau nak guna untuk sebagai latihan, kamu boleh beli buku yang mempunyai latihan. Mungkin satu buku yang mempunyai nota ataupun peta ringkas, peta minda, yang itu boleh. Tapi selalu ingat, kita kena selalu balik ke buku teks. Bila wujud keraguan, kita harus balik ke buku teks. Okey, salah satu contoh buku yang saya dapati di pasaran, saya akan tunjuk kamu. Dia ada macam peta ataupun overview of the chapters. Malah buku teks pun ada juga overview, tapi saya nak tunjukkan di sini. Gunakan itu sebagai panduan dan seterusnya kamu harus tahu buat latihan objektif, latihan struktur, latihan esei. Yang ini tak boleh lari. Sangat penting untuk awak melaksanakannya, iaitu soalan objektif, latihan struktur, latihan esei. Ketiga-tiga komponen ini sangat penting. Jadi saya harap pelajar masa MCO, ABCD, whatever, you're staying at home, right? So gunakan peluang ini untuk melengkapkan proses pembelajaran kamu. Maksud saya di sini adalah pastikan setiap bab kamu boleh melihat overview. Cikgu dah beritahu, kamu kena tahu overview of every chapter. Gambaran keseluruhan dalam semua topik dalam tingkatan 4. Sekiranya, okey, contoh kita lihat bab 7. Sekarang cikgu tunjuk. Tengok klip ini. Dalam ini kamu tengok pembahagian dia. Macam mana dia punya pembahagian? Pembahagian dia kamu tengok latar belakang idea negara merdeka. Jadi kamu lihat di situ semua parti politik. Parti politik kegemaran saya. Awas, tak ada di sini ya. Tak apa. Tapi kamu tengok dalam bab 7 ni ada KMM, API, PKMM, PKML and all that. Kamu kena tahu apakah maksud ataupun nama penuh. Jadi dalam minda anda kamu kena program link. Sejarah sebenarnya connections. If you can watch a favorite documentary of mine way back when I was a kid like your age, and we didn't have online yet, so thank God for the local TV stations like TV1, TV2, TV3 was still new, but I was around. Okay, I'm not that old. Okay, anyway, there was a famous show called Connections, I think. It's a fantastic documentary where dia menunjukkan bagaimana seorang itu menceritakan satu topik, dia akan mengait hubung dengan sebuah topik lain dan kadang-kadang bermula dari topik di angkasa lepas dia akan berakhir di bumi, atau di bumi dia berakhir di angkasa lepas. Very interesting. These are some of the documentaries that got me interested in history. Very nice. Maybe I will show you some clip. Maybe you have a look at this sample.
I suppose a detective catches a crook because he follows a trail from one uniquely relevant event or person to another until he finds a unique piece of evidence that points to the only person in the world who could have done the deed. And strangely enough, the story I'm about to tell you about why modern detectives are able to do that at all follows exactly the same kind of trail from one unique character to another through history. Here's my first unique character. Steve Davis, one of the best snooker players in the world. You should see him in action. In fact, why don't you? Mr. Davis is uniquely relevant to this detective story, not just for his unbelievable skill at the table, but to draw your attention to one of the tools of his trade. This, to all modern detectives, probably the most unique piece of evidence in history. But if I tell you any more, I'll give it away. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you, and I've been asked to give you this.
Thank you. So, now you're thoroughly mystified, Here's a tale of unique historical characters whose unique actions will lead us back to that unique ball. In a show entitled Speaking of individuals, I don't suppose there's ever been an individual quite like the one we call Renaissance man. You know, those people who once knew everything there was to know about everything. Like this guy, George Bower, the first character in our historical detective story, and who was here in the 16th century at Bologna University. George Bower was really quite a guy. He taught Greek, then Latin, then grammar. Then he went into physics, then chemistry, then linguistics, and then publishing. And then, in the middle of the 16th century, he came here, to northern Italy, to the best university in Europe, because he'd finally decided what he really wanted to be. A doctor. This place had all the latest anatomy techniques and stuff, and the classes were jammed. Anyway, George finishes the course, and in time goes off to become a GP in a mining town in what would now be the Czech Republic, where he promptly writes a multi-volume reference book. But not about medicine, about mining, of course. After all, George is a unique Renaissance man, so mining is just another string to his bow. The book covered everything from surface operations all the way down to the bottom of a mine and anything you might do on the way. Ore crushing, smelting, tunneling, ventilating. The illustrated manual of all a miner needed to know. Or rather, anybody interested in buying a mine needed to know. The first example in history of a technological bestseller. And our second piece of evidence. Now, if you bought a mine that George's assaying techniques showed was full of what you particularly wanted, I mean really valuable stuff like copper, then as a financial investor you would know in advance that things financial were going to go with a bang. Copper was so valuable because it helped to make the Renaissance equivalent of the gift for the man who has everything, a bronze cannon. Because what you had to have in the 16th century, if you were a new nation, an ambitious king, a bunch of world explorers, or fighting the Pope, which describes the countries of Europe one way or another at the time, what you absolutely had to have was firepower. Everybody was doing it. Hardly a 16th century week went by without a war somewhere. All made that bit easier thanks to the unique talents of George Bower. Now, the only fly in the ointment for cannon-firing princes and such was that fighting battles back then wasn't like it is today. There was no such thing as a regular army, which gave them a particularly inconvenient problem. They couldn't get hold of money when they needed it, to pay their mercenary troops when they wanted it, which was always yesterday, because there were no banks. Well, not banks we'd call banks. And even if you did find somebody with a bit of cash to help you out, the interest rates could be 30%. But as one famous mercenary said to Louis XIII, to go to war, you only need three things: money, money, and money. Buenos dias. Kings, of course, weren't stony broke. They just had cash flow problems. By the time you'd collected your annual taxes, tithes, rents, revenues, or whatever, your mercenaries had hightailed it to work for somebody who could pay them regularly every Friday evening. And all armies were mercenaries. Which is why the royals back then were up to here in hock to the next character in our detective story. Anton Fugger. Because he lent money to everybody from Russia to here in Hispaniola. In this case, to the particular royal who owned that palace down there at the end of the street.
Dah tengok klip tu, sekarang kita patah balik. Okey, dalam ini kamu tengok latar belakang idea negara merdeka, jawatan kuasa hubungan antara kaum, sistem ahli, sistem pendidikan kebangsaan, penubuhan parti politik. Jadi bila kamu dah faham, bila kamu lihat macam ni, minda kamu akan aturkan kompartmen-kompartmen dalam ruang otak anda untuk topik ini. Jadi kamu tak serabut. Oh, sejarah kena baca banyak benda. Actually bukan banyak benda nak ingat. This whole topic is like that. This is a framework. Rangka, kamu ada blueprint. You know, this is how it works in this topic. Jadi kamu bila baca topik ini, bila kamu mengambil buku teks, saya dah cakap hari itu, kata kunci sangat penting. Setiap perangan mesti ada kata kunci. Jadi tips ini sangat penting untuk saya. Untuk anda dan saya juga. Bila saya mengajar, saya guna teknik yang sama sebelum saya masuk kelas. Tujuan saya online di sini adalah untuk memberitahu, mempermudah cara bagaimana hendak belajar. Dan saya nak beritahu pendapat sejarah semua mesti dikait hubung dari buku teks. Okay, your buku teks is very important. Saya dah cakap dah. Okay, untuk contoh saja hari ini saya gunakan satu buku kerja untuk tunjukkan you perhubungan iaitu rangka kerja. Faham tak? Alright, lepas sesi video ni saya akan beri beberapa latihan kerja, tengok dalam grup WhatsApp. Okay, sehingga itu saya nak beritahu juga, okay, kita patah balik ke real learning also at home. Learn to do new things, discover new things, discover new topic. Now we have all the time you want, kan? Your online lesson starts at 9. So what? Some of you are still sleeping, is it? So please, you know, after the online classes, search for things like MCO yang lalu, bulan Mac, saya menghadapi masalah membeli roti. Jadi saya pun tengok, oh roti ni, mari kita cuba buat tengok sendiri. Saya tengok, boleh buat. Akhirnya saya berjaya buat. Kali ini, 2 hari lalu, saya bangun awal, pukul 5, terus buat roti, sudah ada roti dah di rumah. It's fun. You learn a lot of things. I also learn about the history of bread. Go and find out the history of bread. Okay. Sebelum saya akhiri sesi saya nak beritahu satu lagi yang paling penting. Jadi sekarang kita ada perayaan Deepavali. Saya nak ucapkan kepada semua penganut agama Hindu, selamat menyambut hari Deepavali. Deepavali Nalvartika. Okay. Have a good time. Good break. Tiada pengajaran hari Jumaat dan hari Isnin. Tolong jangan tanya soalan berulang kali. Sir, hari ni tak ada online ke? Sekarang saya sudah beritahu. Tak payah masuk mesej WhatsApp lain tanya soalan yang sama. Kita diberitahu sekali, faham 100 kali. Ada satu dialog dari satu aktor kan. Kalau ingat tu baguslah. Kalau tak ingat tak apa. Harap berjumpa kembali minggu depan. Have a good weekend. Thank you boys.